Welcome to a special episode. Today we are joined by Brad Sugars, a visionary leader, creative thinker, entrepreneur, and the founder and CEO of ActionCOACH. For more than 3 decades, he has helped business owners build stronger, more successful, and sustainable companies across more than 80 countries. Known for his innovative approach to leadership and business growth, Brad has inspired entrepreneurs to think differently, overcome challenges, and create lasting success. He is passionate about helping business owners create sustainable success, stronger leadership, and the freedom to create businesses that thrive without their daily involvement. Welcome to the show, Brad. How are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. Love being in Delhi.
Wow, nice. How are you feeling the weather here?
You know, I grew up in Australia, so I'm pretty used to the warm and that. And I live in Las Vegas, so I'm used to very hot weather. So it is a little more humid here, though, than I'm used to.
I'm sure. So, Brad, millions of people, think of starting a business. What do you think is the biggest leap before, entering into the entrepreneur journey?
Well, I think what most people do is they try and find the perfect business. They try and find what's exactly going to be right. The reality is most of us started in business and it changed along the way. Now, I think that when we look at entrepreneurship, it is a leap of faith in most cases. I think a lot of people are scared of entrepreneurship because they're like, well, it's not as safe as a job. I find it safer because I have hundreds of clients, not just one boss. So, I think that's the thing. But it might be harder work in the beginning, but it pays off because you have ownership, not just income.
Right. So many people think, business owners especially, that they need a groundbreaking idea before starting any business. What do you think is the most important aspect? The execution, or the idea, or the person behind that business?
Ideas are a dime a dozen. There's so many ideas for business. It's who's going to do it and how are they going to do it, sort of thing. There's a lot of hard work getting a business started, but the thing about it is this: if you can create demand first, then you'll succeed. Like the person who decides they're going to make a cookie business, baking cookies and that sort of thing, they want to have the world's best cookie.
Right.
The best companies, though, are the ones that create demand and find sales and distribution networks and all of those things. So most of the time, I find the real success comes from being great at the sales and marketing side, so that you create customers and get repeat business, and that's what does it. And I go back to that repeat business again and again because that's where real business success comes from. One-off customers, hard to do. Repeat business, lots of profit.
Right. So you are saying, retention is the key to it.
Well, retention is where profit comes from in business. If you don't retain your customers, you don't make profit, because marketing costs money, sales costs money. Where you get real profit is the customers that keep coming back. And so that's why I like suggesting to people to create some form of a subscription or membership or retainer-based business where you don't make a sale and they go away. You make a sale and they stay forever. That's really where the success happens.
Right. So we often see that startups fail in the starting few years only. So what, according to you, is the biggest mistake that the founders are making?
Biggest mistake is they're too cheap. They think, oh, it's my business. I can charge whatever I want. I'm going to be the cheapest one around. And the problem is you lose profits. So business isn't about how much you sold. It's about all of the costs being covered. And so the number one mistake is being too cheap. Number two mistake is they make themselves the business. It's like, back to the cookie example, it would be a baker and they do all of the cooking instead of creating systems and then building a team and then allowing the business to grow, sort of thing. So third biggest mistake, if I was to give you the third one, would be they focus so hard on getting the business open that they forget that the job of the business is to get customers. And we see this all the time in business where it's all about the product. It's all about the service. They spend hours each day straightening the clothes hanging on the rack in their retail store and no time making phone calls to potential new customers, no time doing marketing out there in the world. And, social media has democratized marketing. Anyone can succeed in marketing, but you've got to be good at it. You can't just put up a boring video and hope it works.
Right. So you just mentioned that people make the business around themselves. How can they limit the dependency?
Well, you've got to remember that part of the initial success is that you are very good and you're very willing to work hard. At some point, though, you've got to realize that you've got to start working on the business, not in it. IBM is a global company, and it was started by Tom Watson. And he said, I got a picture in my mind of what IBM would look like when I finished. And I went to work on IBM, not just in IBM. So for me, when I started in business, I worked from 9 o'clock till 5 o'clock every day, making sales, doing the work, paying the bills. But then at night times, I would go to work on the systems and creating long-term wealth. See, the secret to long-term success is you do the work once and get paid long-term or forever. Like, why do I write books? I write books because I write them one time and I'll get paid for 75, 100 years sort of thing. My kids will get paid after I'm gone. So you start looking for the working on the business, the developing of systems, building people, building products, building programs, that sort of thing. But if I was to be sort of contrarian in my thinking, I find that best success to get into business is to actually buy a business that's already got customers, already got products, already got systems, and it's probably just not run well. They just don't give good customer service. They don't do good marketing. They don't keep it clean enough. You know, all the simple things. I find buying a business is a much faster way, but a lot of people think, well, I've got to have money to buy a business. And in this day and age, we find there's a lot of business owners who they're getting retirement age. They don't want to keep working, and they're willing to sell you their business, and they're willing to finance you the sale of their business. But it's a different way of thinking to buy it rather than sell it, or start it, should I say.
Great insight. So, AI is changing every industry. Do you believe AI is the greatest opportunity for entrepreneurs, and whether they can use AI without losing the human touch?
I think AI is making the human touch more important than it's ever been before. You know, the way I looked at business before was that about 80% of business is the same. It's routine. It happens every day. So you need to systematize that 80%. Today, what we're seeing is that computers, robots, mechanisms, AI will run about 80% of business. If you think of 20 years ago in your accounting department, you had a dozen people. Today, you've got one person and 3 computer programs. Car manufacturing, they used to have 1,000 people. Now they've got robots and 8 people. You know, so we're seeing the big dramatic shift. But what that means is that the human connection, you know, this isn't me talking to a robot. This is, yes, she's a real person. You know, it's real. That is where it's going to be more important today. How you connect with your customers, how you do live and local, the experience. Why is it that Louis Vuitton, their stores are always full, but normal little stores are not? Because they provide an experience. It feels good going in there to do the shopping. It feels like a great experience. So if businesses look at AI, yes, it's a great opportunity, but also it could be the biggest killer if you don't change. Too many businesses, and especially, I hate to say it, the older business people, keep trying to do it the same way. I love employing young people in my companies because they look at it differently. They see it differently. I know in my restaurant businesses, the young people do our marketing and they go, what do you think of this? And I go, it doesn't matter what I think. I'm not the target audience. It's got to be to your target audience. So I think that we have to embrace AI, but that means learning and that means changing. The hardest job of success in business is the learning. It's not the doing work that's hard. It's the learning, the growing, the changing. See, business owners think they're building a business, right? Entrepreneurs think they're building the business. The truth is the business is building you. The business is teaching you everything you need to learn, you need to understand. And so that might be like one of my hardest lessons was learning to let go, learning to trust my people. Like I always wanted to do it and do it myself. I always thought no one can do it as good as me. What I've learned since is that there's a lot of people who can do it better than me. And my job as the owner is to get out of their way and let them do it better than me. So Is AI going to change business? Dramatically. Dramatically. Right. Is AI going to kill a lot of businesses? Yes. Is AI going to help a lot of businesses? So much. I mean, think of how much faster it is today to do things. I know for me, writing my articles today, I literally have AI talk to me. In 10 minutes, it interviews me, asks me all the questions, and then it puts all my words into a written format. And I go, that's better than I could have done myself. I can't write that nicely. You know, I've written 18 books, and my English teacher would say I still can't spell, and that's true. But the computer fixes my spelling, so.
So do you believe that, business owners are depending more on AI and not using it correctly? Because, business is, customer is all about experience, as you just mentioned.
Yeah, look, I think that we're learning to use AI. Right now, worldwide, they're saying between 70 and 80% of businesses are using AI. Now, obviously not the micro businesses, but businesses with employees. But we're still less than 10% are using paid AI. So there's a big gap. I think people are worried that it's going to happen too fast. Well, you're too young, but I'm old enough to remember when the internet started and everyone said this is going to put everyone out of business in 5 years. And no, it didn't. It changed over time. And I think AI is going to take a little bit more time than most people think it will to be in everything in business. Right. But that's going to move faster than you think. Like, people overestimate what you can achieve in 1 year, but they underestimate the change in 10 years. 10 years from now, AI will be everywhere in all things, in all areas of business. So we better get learning it now, and we better do it. Now, are they using it to build a better experience? I hope so, because if they use it to analyze the data, see, again, the world was in the information age, right? And the information age was where the internet became massive because we got all of this information. Well, where we got to is too much information, right? There's just too much. So how do you read it all? So let's imagine the CMO for my business, Chief Marketing Officer. His job is to read all of the marketing reports every day from Google, from Instagram, from Facebook, from LinkedIn, from every advertising medium we use. He's got to read all of the reports every day. Couldn't do it. You couldn't get all your work done and that, but you can give it all to AI and say, hey, read all of this for me and come back and tell me what are the most important things I need to be focused on right now. And it will. So use it as your thinking partner, I think, rather than a customer service connection. Keep human to human. You and I both know how much we hate calling a company and getting a machine that tells you, no, please just operator. Give me to someone that can tell me the answer.
Right. So, many young professionals today are choosing to become an entrepreneur instead of opting for, traditional industry. So if for someone who only has 1 year to prepare for it, what skills or systems should they focus on?
Dang, only 1 year. All right, I would say communication.
Right.
Communication would be the number one skill I'd work on because it's important for sales, it's important for marketing, leadership, management of people, customer service. Right. How you communicate is probably one of the biggest contributing factors to success today. You probably see it. There's young people, they want to be YouTubers, and you go and talk to them and they can't communicate. It's like, you're never going to be. People are like, look at Mr. Beast, he succeeded. No, the guy's a great communicator. He's really good at talking and creating intrigue and all of those things. So if I had 1 year, communication would be the skill. The strategy, if I had 1 year, would be to start asking people about that product or about that service and start to find their biggest challenges, biggest frustrations, what they buy, why they buy it. Do the research. Luckily enough, you mentioned AI. Well, AI can do the research so fast for business today. Third answer is don't wait for a year. Start tomorrow. Go making sales now. If I have one advice for getting a business started, it is go faster. Don't go slow. Go faster. Make all the mistakes. Make them small, but make all the small mistakes along the way so that you're ready to go when you've got that year.
Does overthinking kill the business?
Oh, yeah. Overthinking kills. And, I have 4 daughters, so I'm in a house where we have overthinking all the time. Look, What happens in business is people get into this lack of confidence in themselves. It's why, so for us as a business coaching company, half of what we do in coaching is give business people the confidence to just do. Just do what you know, try it, test it, measure it. You don't have to, buy a massive ad in the newspaper. Start with a small ad, boost your Instagram post, see what happens with it type thing. You don't have to go massive. You can test and measure. Right. But I think that confidence is one of the hardest things to have people understand. But confidence doesn't come from thinking. Confidence comes from acting. You've got to take the first step to be confident. I know for me, I buy a lot of companies. And so I have a rule that when I'm 80% sure, I say yes. I can't get to 100% sure. Once you get to 80%, here's what people do. And it's over and over again, not just in business, They get to 80%, yes, I should. And then they start looking for reasons not to. Now, I'm sure, Anita, you've never done this, You're thinking about something, I should do this. And then, well, what if this happens? And what if that happens? And you talk yourself out of it. Right. It's like goal setting. Most people they set a goal or they think of a goal and then they go, well, how will I do that? How will I do that? And how is the enemy of your goals? Because if you set it as a goal, by the rule of goal setting, you should not know how to do it. If you know how to do it, it's not a goal. It's just a to-do list item. So set bigger goals and go after them.
So if you had one key advice for the young aspirants, looking to enter into the journey, what would it be?
Find a great mentor. And it doesn't have to be a live mentor. It could be a YouTube channel that you follow. It could be a book that you read or a podcast or something. I know there's been a lot of young people who follow my podcast who they said, I've watched 50 episodes and now I'm starting my business sort of thing. Because yes, you sometimes need that much to get your brain around it. But I would say the other thing is invest the time to write a plan. Now, the formula for that is pretty simple. See, success is dream, goal, learn, plan, act. Okay, so you got to have the dreams. And for business, that's like a vision. Turn it into goals. And again, with goals, if you know how to do it, it's not big enough. If it doesn't scare you and excite you, in fact, with goals and dreams, if your friends don't laugh at it, they're not big enough. Okay? Too many times in my lifetime where I've set goals and people going, you can't do that. You're crazy. Yes. Because the crazy people achieve crazy things. But once you've set the goal, then it's about learning. And that's where the mentors kick in. You can't just go set the goal and go to work. Set the goal, give yourself the time to read the books, listen to the pods, do the stuff, but learn what you need to do. Then write the plan. But you can't write a plan until you do the learning. Because if you write a plan without learning, you're just writing a plan called do the same thing I used to do and do more of it. It doesn't work that way.
Thank you so much. It was a really insightful conversation. I hope the listeners start acting instead of overthinking.
Well, that's why I call the company Action Coach, not Theory Coach. Take action.
True. Thank you so much, Brad. It was a nice conversation.